Hello, welcome to another Pedal Out video. So today we are in Majorca, Spain, and we're going to be looking at this 2017 Jeep Renegade. So we're in the 2017 Jeep Renegade. It's a hire car. This Jeep Renegade is Jeep's foray into the sort of mini multi-purpose SUV, family wagon, four-wheel drive, jumped up pseudo four-wheel drive kind of space in the market. So it's kind of up there competing with the likes of the Mini Countryman and the Fiat 500X, you know, that kind of, I personally think, rather hideous overblown Fiat. Obviously Jeep are a Chrysler motor company, and Chrysler are also part of the Fiat group. So this is a real, I suppose, partnership, big partnership between Chrysler and Fiat. This Jeep Renegade probably represents one of the first kind of big tie-ups for Fiat and Jeep, and to the point where, or Fiat and Chrysler, to the point where this car shares much of its componentry and bits and bobs and dials and what have you with some of those you will find on the Fiat 500X. So for example, the sat-nav, which is integrated, I think it comes pretty much as standard on most models of the Jeep Renegade, is lifted straight out of the Fiat 500X. It's a Uconnect model. It works okay. The steering wheel with your cruise control buttons down here on the right, and the buttons for the display, the central display on the left, and then behind those buttons you've got more buttons to help you change the radio channel, the volume controls, etc. on the stereo. But on the whole, apart from the little Jeep logo in the middle, the Jeep Renegade shares its steering wheel with the Fiat 500X. So there you go. So the model lineup for the Jeep Renegade starts, I believe you kind of get a base sport model, so it's called the Sport, but it is actually, that's kind of your base model, and then it kind of goes up from there. You've got the Limited, then you've got the Latitude, I of course mean Longitude, and finally you've got the kind of range topping Trailhawk. Now the Trailhawk is a bit kind of beefier looking. It's got a bit more jacked up suspension. It's one of the permanent four-wheel drive models, and as such you get to be able to select the different drive modes for the permanent four-wheel drive as well. Has to be said though, most of the models in the Jeep Renegade range will be just the two-wheel drive model. So the way you can tell that, if you are like us in a hire car and you're not quite sure which model you've got, the four-wheel drive models generally have the kind of drive select mode based on different kind of four-wheel drive train, and that is in the center console down by the kind of USB auxiliary port, and the kind of cigarette lighter area. This car doesn't have one. What it has is a little blanking plate, but Jeep have added a nice touch. It's not just any old blanking plate, it's a kind of blanking plate with two round headlights and the 7 grills. So this car has the traditional kind of old school Wrangler grille look with the round headlights either side and the 7 kind of grille elements squished between it. And Jeep have kind of gone a bit all mini with that regard, which is, I think, a really cool, nice kind of retro-y touch in this car. So you can see where they've added those little touches as well in various places. That's quite nice. And also one of the really nice touches, stamped, imprinted in, and you've got to be really kind of careful to spot it. Right above the sat nav is a nice emblazoned since 1941 on there, as if to say this Jeep Renegade with its I'm going to say rather puny 1.6 diesel engine and front wheel drive actually has kind of any heritage or much to do with, I suppose, the original Willys Jeep. So engine wise, most people will opt for diesels, I guess from an economy perspective. The range comes with a 1.6 diesel multi-jet, so it's turboed, and it goes up to a 2-litre diesel. They come in various tuning configurations of brake horsepower, kind of starting at just over 100. I think they go up to the 2-litre Trailhawk version, hits about kind of 160 brake horse. That's the 4-wheel drive. So the 0 to 60 times hover around the kind of 10 second mark. I think the kind of more beefed up power diesel ones, the front wheel drive ones anyway, front wheel drive gets slightly more economy, you'd expect that. They're also a little bit quicker. I think it kind of gets to 60 around the kind of 9 second mark. In this particular Latitude then, you get all of the standard equipment you'd expect to find on a modern car these days. So the integrated sat nav, air conditioning, dual climate control for both sides. It's got quite a good stereo in here. It's pretty decent. Obviously all of your 4 electric windows, front and rear, electric mirrors, nice single kind of coloured central display to give you information about your economy, your range, what channel you're listening to, and it can also show you the satellite directions. I think on the Latitude you can also have an optional sunroof. This one doesn't come with it because we're in Majorca. I can't see there being huge value in that. Most people will probably just switch the aircon on. We mentioned the quirkiness of the Jeep styling, so there's lots of little touches and details, like embedded in the windscreen in the corner there's a little Jeep kind of going up a hill. There's a splash of mud emblazoned on the rev counter on the dash, which I quite like. The styling of this car, again in keeping with that kind of retroness that's kind of lent itself to a lot of modern kind of mini SUV type vehicles these days, is very chunky, very cool. This car feels very solid, and for what is essentially quite a good looking 4-wheel drive Jeep, it handles really well as well. The steering is pin sharp. It gets great reviews, this car, as being a proper off-road 4-wheel drive vehicle. Now I can't vouch for that because this is a 2-wheel drive model, and I have to say it feels more like a big oversized chunky, albeit very solid 2-wheel drive car than a kind of 4-wheel drive car. So I can only imagine if you have the 4-wheel version of this, based on everything I've read about the Jeep Renegade, it just gets typical really strong reviews from people who say it's just a proper little 4-wheel drive, which is great to hear. But as a kind of dare I say commuter family pooling around wagon, which is what we've been using it for on the holiday island of Majorca, with the front wheel drive 1.6 diesel version, it's pretty good so far. It handles and holds the road really well. The turning is so sharp and crisp. The steering is nicely weighted. It feels planted. The diesel engine, it's your typical kind of modern diesel engine. It's got enough poke to keep up with modern traffic as they do these days. A little bit rattly and noisy kind of at low speed, but once you get up to kind of motorway speed, you don't really notice it too much. It's absolutely fine. Nice kind of fabric seats. You can get, I believe, the leather as an option. They're emblazoned with the Jeep logo as well. Just those real nice touches. Lovely solid wing mirrors and door handles on this vehicle. This is a Jeep Chrysler product, but it's probably one of the first Jeeps I've been in that doesn't necessarily feel like a Jeep. So typically Jeep specialized, kind of almost competed to some extent with the sort of Range Rovers of the world in the past, with the Grand Cherokee and the Cherokee. They're always kind of a bit more American kind of luxury 4-wheel drive product. This model, this new Jeep Renegade, as we mentioned before, shares lots of parts with Fiat. Is built in Italy as well. I think it's built in the same factory alongside the Fiat 500X. As a result, the build quality of this car, A, is really, really good, but B, it feels very European in here. It doesn't feel like an American Jeep product. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, because I've had two great Grand Cherokee Jeeps in the past, which I absolutely love to bits. I quite like the power, the highness, the kind of doesn't feel that like the same product, like it's from the same manufacturer. Does it feel like a Fiat? Well, that's a good question. I'd have to say, yeah, arguably, maybe with the kind of switch gear, it probably feels a little bit more like a Fiat product than a Jeep product. Is that a bad thing? No, not really. I don't think it is. I quite like it for its Europeanness and its solidity. It's certainly done a great job of penetrating the kind of mini SUV market, and it's probably stolen some sales away, hopefully from the 500X, which I'm not a big fan of, but maybe from the Mini Countryman as well. It is, it has to be said, we've mentioned mini SUV. Having said that, you don't sacrifice anything in the way of space in this car. In fact, this feels like one of the most spacious cars I've ever been in. There's bags of headroom here, more headroom than you know what to do with. I could sit in here with a top hat and I probably still wouldn't hit the ceiling. There's room in the back for 3, and I'm going to say 3 adults. There is a kind of bit of a central bit in the middle down there, but hardly noticeable at all. So you're going to get 3 adults in there. It more than happily swallows up 2 adults in the front and 2 kids in the back quite happily, and their luggage in the boot. Boot space is pretty much again on par with the Mini Countryman. You don't get a huge amount of boot space, and I suppose I'm waxing lyrical about this car, and I do really like it. The one thing that does or has frustrated me in the time that I've been driving this car, which is coming up to just about 2 weeks now, is the rear boot. The rear tail lift of the boot kind of goes up and out, and I suppose that's the case on most cars, but I like the kind of quirkiness on four-wheel drives of maybe a split tailgate where the kind of top comes up and the bottom comes out. This car doesn't have that. It's kind of a giant flap that comes out, and it really does kind of come out towards you and kind of get in the way of you a lot of the time. It's a bit inconvenient. That has to be said, perhaps apart from the diesel engine, are my main niggles and gripes with this car. Other than that, the styling, the interior, the comfort, the drive, the handling, the equipment, it's reasonable. It's a nice car. Should you buy one? I think the sport model, the kind of base level model, kind of starts at around 16 grand, and I think you can kind of go up, hit kind of the late 20s for the top of the range Trailhawk version. They do come with some quirky colours, white and black being the kind of most popular, but there's some really nice subtle kind of cool green and burnt orange type colours that these cars come in, and I actually think those kind of quirky colours suit the styling of this car much better, rather than the sort of more popular whites and blacks. So go for a nice bright funky colour, spec it up, middle of the range Latitude model. Yeah, buy one. I think as a family car with a decent sort of fuel economy, you can easily kind of squeeze kind of 40 plus mpg out of this car, and before they start to go crazy taxing the heck out of diesels, why would you not buy one? Gearbox in this car, really good. Got a nice 6-speed manual gearbox. The Trailhawk 2-litre diesel version does come with an automatic box, which is a 9-speed. You heard me correctly, a 9-speed automatic gearbox. That's pretty incredible, really, isn't it? And I guess that's to do with the cleverness of the 4-wheel drive system. So it probably just makes it much more of a go anywhere, or complete total and utter all-terrain vehicle, which is kind of cool. A couple of things also worthy of note with this car. This car kind of lends itself to the Mopar aftermarket range of products. So similar to the Mini, this Jeep Renegade is less a car. It is a car, but it's also a lifestyle vehicle. Let's call it that. Lifestyle vehicle. That's like, I think it should be kind of something that's written in a Sunday newspaper magazine. It's a lifestyle vehicle. As such, being part of the kind of Mopar aftermarket parts company, you can buy all sorts of different graphics, coloured bits, bespoke bits and bobs for your Jeep Renegade. So as such, you should, if you so choose, be able to customise and tweak fairly easily your Jeep Renegade. And why wouldn't you? Most Minis are also very heavily tweakable. So why would you want to kind of blend in? You can stand out. So get shopping, put some cool graphics on it, make it look a little bit different. Experiment. Thanks for watching this short but sweet Jeep Renegade review, I guess you could call it that, video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe to the channel for lots more car and sometimes bike review videos coming very soon. Comment in the bottom, tell me what you think about it. Is it a family car that you'd like? Do you prefer the Fiat 500X? Do you prefer the Mini Countryman? Tell me about it, put it down there. Have a look at my Instagram account. I'm always posting pictures of my car travels and what I get up to, and also on Twitter. Thanks again for watching. See you again soon.